final bosses mean as much for a story as does its thematic climax, reaching that satisfying narrative conclusion that ties everything together. For the Ultraman series, Zetton set a precedent for what it means to be a final boss, and the series would continue to create new spins on the bad guy formula for new generations to come. After all, Ultraman turned 60 this year. Join me in celebrating 60 years of Ultraman as we dive into the art of final bosses galore. We're going to find out how these final bosses reflect a wide variety of different fears in reality. Ending spoilers for the original Ultraman, Ultraseven, Return, Ace, Tiga, Gaia, Ultraseven X, Z, Blazar, and Arc ahead. This won't be a big and detailed look into each final boss, rather it'll be the threads that tie these to each other, overarching themes and fears. Because if I covered each entry, each TV show and movie, I'd be here talking until we get to Ultraman's 120th anniversary. In the original Ultraman, the first battle he lost was against Gamora, the Prince of the Monsters. However, this defeat was just that, a defeat. It wasn't until Zetton the Space Dinosaur's appearance in the very final episode that we see Ultraman lose more than a defeat. He was killed. Zetton would become a boogeyman for both the Ultras and viewers alike. I can only imagine what kids back then thought when Ultraman fell. I know I would cry. Damn it, it hits me hard even to this day, and even when seeing new Zettons appear, I still get flashbacks to that first appearance. In terms of first impressions, Zetton is clearly one for the books, and there's a reason he was so effective. Well, a couple of reasons. Namely, his design. He's not quite a bug and not quite a weird alien, nor is he very dinosaurian looking. He's just Zetton, weird, unique, and has that faceless lamp head that would be homaged with other new kaiju. Take Ultraman Arc and Omega for example. Both are recent shows that have new kaiju that are meant to remind us of Zetton, whether that's the faceless head, the bizarre sounds, memorable mannerisms, and overall detestable violence they bring. Arc had a series of kaiju named from 0 to 3, and Omega had Zorvas. While these two had more direct, implicit influence from Zetton, it should be noted that Zetton's legacy mostly stems from the fact that he killed Ultraman without a rematch. That terror in seeing Ultraman suddenly lose is what made Zetton a nightmare. It's not like his color timer just ran out. No, it's the fact that Zetton would brush off Ultraman's attacks, no matter which attacks they were, and absorb his own Specium Ray, just to fire it back and finish off Ultraman. It's alarming. However, Zetton's own defeat is what makes the story payoff still feel hopeful. Humanity is able to defeat Zetton with a single new anti-kaiju superweapon, showing that there may be a chance for humanity to start defending themselves. Kind of a twist on Dr. Serizawa from Godzilla, if you know, you know. After a whole series of being saved by Ultraman, it seems that his mission was complete after all. Humanity's spirits were uplifted, and they can start to fend for themselves. Of course, Ultraman wouldn't truly die since Zafi returned him to the Land of Light, but the legacy of that original final episode made it clear that Ultraman is human just like us. He won't be able to win every battle, but he'll take every round till the last, ensuring that he can still make a stand for everyone, even if it nearly cost him his own life. A total stranger to Earth that fell in love with its inherent beauty and wonderful people on it. If anything, Zetton being such a threat simply reinforces the mission of Ultraman, that being the pursuit of justice and defending others. And so, in the years that followed, we'd see new Ultra Legends introduced with their own set of rules. We'll jump ahead just a bit to 1971's Return of Ultraman, where its 1972 finale saw Ultraman Jack battling a new Zetton created by Alien Bat. Hideki Go and Jack decide to face Zetton 2 and Bat, despite the direct warnings of the original Ultraman himself telling him, hey, don't, screw up Zetton, he's nothing to mess around with. And wouldn't you know, Jack manages to overcome both Zetton and Bat, putting the boogeyman to rest. After a brilliant Ultra Hurricane, some fancy Ultra Bracelet moves, and a mighty Specimen Ray, Zetton 2 is defeated. Jack saved humanity, and made things right for his original brother-in-arms, Man Nissan. It's simple and poetic. Ultraman has truly returned. Now that we've discussed Zetton, who would still reappear decades later with new incarnations and variations, let's dive into how other Ultra series have crafted their own unique final foes. 1967's Ultraseven took a different approach. Instead of an outright overwhelming final boss, we get the two-headed Pandon. He's still a tough fighter, don't get me wrong, but he doesn't have any real crazy moves like Zetton. Pandon even gets his arm and leg chopped off in his first encounter of Ultra 7, making way for cybernetic enhancements in their final duel. However, what made Pandon a threat was timing. Ultra 7's mission was to defend Earth, but also because it was constantly being invaded by various aliens. By the time the finale arrives, Dan Moriboshi's body has taken far too much damage from his adventures. Time has caught up, meaning he could only become Ultra 7 if he really needed to, or else chance being killed in battle. Enter Pandon, a monster of just enough strength to be a threat to a weakened Ultra 7 on death's door. Couple Pandon with the alien Gios Armada that's begun barbing Earth, and you got yourselves a nice new take on what Zetton established. Again, it's the same thing here, another alien invasion, but the stakes are just a little bit different. I also like how Zetton's signature method of redirecting Ultraman's Specimen Ray is alluded to here when Pandon catches Ultra 7's Eye Slugger with his new cyborg arm. Nice touch. I'm telling you, birds can be vicious sons of bastards. They're always watching and plotting ya. Hitchcock warned us. To round out the show-up portion of this video, let's check out another vicious bird kaiju, Birdon, from 1973's Ultraman Taro. I'm jumping ahead a bit just since Birdon's not a final boss kaiju in Taro. However, Birdon does appear quite early in that Showa series and takes out both Zafi and Taro. For a kaiju that just shows up to be an early season boss, having two dead Ultras to your name, at least for a little while, is nothing to scoff at. If Alien Magma Boulder was making this video essay instead of me, he would be cheering. He loves it when the Ultras get defeated by kaiju and aliens. Regardless, I'll discuss more about Birdon in my upcoming The Mysterious Ultraman Zafi video essay, so be ready for that. Anyway, Birdon. He's like Foghorn Leghorn on steroids, and had a bit of that final boss energy early on. I bet Zafi had a hard time facing me and Nissan after that. He done got pecked by Birdon. I want to see a Birdon-Zetton combination kaiju next. Come on, let's get to it, guys. Now we're going to jump to 1972's Ultraman Ace, a wonderful show that practically evolved the Ultraman mythos with the prelude to that Ultraman Brothers that would be directly involved in Taro. By the time Ace reached his series finale in 1973, it seemed that the threat of Yapul was over. After a striking storyline around the mid-season that featured Yapul being defeated with some help from Ultraman Zafi, it was satisfying. Yapul was the first for the Ultraman series, as in being the first overarching villain. We wouldn't see the crab devil looking form become a Noamaz until his defeat midway, and Yapul was responsible for making dozens of super kaiju known as Chujo, or terrible monsters. Notable heavy hitters that were a threat to other Ultras, and in terms of keeping that boss aura, include Ace Killer and Baraba, and the rogue alien Hipporito would fill in after Yapul's demise in terms of penultimate boss. However, Yapul truly returns in the finale after being in the shadows, enacting a plan that strikes our fears of the unknown. Not unknowns like the darkness of an abyss, rather one that can hit much closer to home. Whether or not you see war in the news, the people from a country involved can become ostracized and made to look like monsters if they migrate to your country just to escape. Fear runs deeper than the unknown. Instead, the unknown could be something right in front of you, where your fear causes you to think normal people are monsters in disguise. Enter Yapul, disguised as little alien Simon, who looks harmless and is seen making friends with local kids. He's supposed to be an alien trying to survive on Earth. However, when Ace's host, Hokuto Seiji, makes a visit, Yapul's voice enters his mind. It turns out that Yapul created the form of alien Simon just to torment Hokuto, since he knows he'll have to shoot him in front of these kids. God damn. And when Yapul gets exactly what he wants, a member of TAC seemingly shooting an innocent alien in front of other innocents, and this pains Hakuto. It's a rough dilemma that caught me off guard years ago when I watched Ace. After a whole season of Yapul, this simple act of manipulation feels too small for him. Yet, it's the one plan of Yapul that ultimately works. There's no Zetton's final blow, quote-unquote, here. Instead, it's just one that directly threatens to damage the hearts of kids. Remember, earlier in the show, Yapul kidnapped all the children on Earth, which was the battle that led to his utter defeat for a while. However, here, Yapul's hatred against the Ultras is what causes him to keep returning, and I suppose he learned from his prior defeat what he can do to actually target Ace and Hakuto as heroic individuals. Of course, a new terrible monster does spawn. It's Yapul's Jumbo King, the newest Chimera kaiju, and one that towers over Ace. Jumbo King has been appearing throughout the episode and being made of prior monsters he fought, and here he's taking on TAC and being an utter menace. He's also very big. He's one of those four-legged kaiju that also has an upper half, kind of like a centaur. And well, how does Hakuto solve this problem? Well, he takes heed of his former partner Yoko's warnings, since they both used to be shared hosts of Ace. Hakuto decides that he has to reveal his identity as Ultraman Ace to these terrified and heartbroken kids in order to regain not only their trust, but their futures as people. And like Yoko warned him, revealing his identity meant he would have to leave Earth for some time. After all, the recent aliens and demons like Yapul meant that danger could strike from anywhere, so any human knowing that he's Ace would put them in direct danger. After revealing his identity to the kids, they understand. And so, Ace eventually defeats Jumbo King after an incredible duel, and he looks at his fellow TAC members and the kids from earlier. He leaves them with this message. "優しさを失わないでくれ。弱い者をいたわり、互いに助け合い、どこの国の人たちとも友達になろうとする気持ちを失わないでくれ。たとえその気持ちが何百回裏切られようと、それが私の最後の願いだ." Yapul's heinous plan was just that, a heinous plan. Just because he caused fear-mongering by acting like someone else, doesn't mean we should treat all strangers like that. Fear will always be an emotion, but we can let our better judgment and hearts keep us from being disappointed, just like Ace said. That was my quick breakdown on a few Showa-era Ultraman final bosses and what themes they individually explore. Now let's head into a few Heisei entries to even it out. 1996's Ultramantiga saw the return of Ultraman proper to Japan following international shows like Australia's Ultraman Towards the Future and the United States' Ultraman The Ultimate Hero. Those were official shows, of course, but they weren't exactly what Ultraman needed in the mid-1990s. Japan was going to launch Ultraman Neos, but due to airing times and creative reasons, Neos would be shelved and wouldn't be actually filmed and coming to fruition until a series in 2000. So with Ultramantiga being the one that would truly come to fruition and becoming a major hit in 1996 in Japan and Southeast Asian countries, this meant Ultraman was truly back. New designs, a new world, and endless new possibilities. With a big heavy hit like Tiga, what did that mean for a series' final boss? Who would Tiga fight? Enter Giganothor, named after a beast related to Cthulhu from those Eldritch Lovecraftian mythos. Having Giganothor as the final boss more directly reflects our fears of the deep unknown, of that darkness that drives madness and insecurity. A darkness that threatens to corrupt as much as it does swallow everything. Quite literally, the end of the world, and for the Ultraman series, this was a threat unlike any other seen before. Since Tiga was Ultraman for a new generation and Ultraman launched as the years stepped closer to the new millennium, well, that new millennium would cause concern and fears of what the future might bring. And as we saw in real life, those fears would somewhat be true, with the disasters and the horrible events that did occur at the beginning of the new millennium. However, the future is always split between darkness and light. We gotta take ourselves higher. That's where Tiga comes in. His whole series built up to his battle with the evil god of darkness, a being meant to invoke the fear of Lovecraftian and eldritch creations like Cthulhu, a fear that is brought up almost constantly in fictional discussions online wherever you go. By that I mean, people always bring up eldritch horrors like everywhere you look. And whenever I see those discussions about Cthulhu and his contemporaries, I smirk to myself because I think about how Ultramantiga handled Lovecraftian terrors. He made them his bitch. That's not to say it was an easy battle, though. It wasn't. Tiga loses to Githanothor and becomes a statue once again, sinking to the depths of the dark ocean ruins. Just look at Githanothor. He's very bizarre. His upside-down face and snail crab squid design is unsettling, and he's always basked in some kind of darkness. His roars echo as he celebrates in defeating Tiga, as he now turns his attention to his darkness army swallowing up humanity. So how did Tiga persevere? Simple. Tiga wasn't alone. He had Guts, and evil Tiga's redeemed human host on his side. And that wasn't all. The big thing here, the big solution to Lovecraftian horrors, is the dreams of kids. If unknown creatures like Lovecraftian fiction are the makings of adult fears, then Ultraman is the makings of kids dreaming for a future full of light. We see children watching the final battle from around the world, everywhere you see, and it feels like a perfect payoff for the entire series. Themes of darkness and light colliding, now paying off as we, the audience, watch Tiga's journey, much like the kids in the show. The children cheered for Tiga even after his defeat, wishing for him to get back up. And that he does, as we see Daigo. Emote with a face that says 1,000 words, as the kids from all corners of the earth save Ultraman. Together, they take themselves higher, and light perseveres against infinite horror, and kids save humanity from adult fears. It's beautiful, brings a tear to my eye every time, and I think it showed why Ultraman will always be relevant as we get new incarnations. The Ultraman Gaia movie even brings these kids back, now grown up, as they remember their time with Tiga, and through them, Tiga returns to help Dinah. The light carries on and is passed down. Let's jump to 1998's Ultraman Gaia, a show that had a gigantic budget and made great use of it. Essentially, this show's themes make the case for why humanity deserves to be a part of Earth. As a species, as members of a great ecosystem with other living things, even if that means kaiju. Gamu becomes Ultraman Gaia through the will of the Earth's own light, and Fujimiya becomes Ultraman Agul through the will of the ocean's own light. This sets the stage for their beliefs as people and forms much of the show's core themes. A conflict where Gamu fights for the entire Earth, meaning humanity, and on the flip side, Fujimiya only cares about defending the Earth and could care less about people. They battle throughout the series on their ideology and eventually come to terms as allies, as brothers of the same planet. It's a very worthwhile payoff if you watch the whole show. We get to the final arc that spans a couple episodes. We see it returns the fear of the unknown. This time it's the Radical Destruction Bringer, which should be the name of a new cocktail, I might add. Essentially, this completely unknown being has been sending monsters to Earth, and for the final arc, it sends Zog as the final judgment. The Radical Destruction Bringer was meant to be unknown even when Gaia's show ended, meaning mystery plays a clear part in its role. It's like Yapul mixed with Giganothor, except we don't see what it looks like. So, it sends Zog down like a literal angel, which I think makes Zog especially eerie, uncanny, incarnate. Zog is the culmination of the Radical Destruction Bringer's evil, a being that worked by pure manipulation and total disregard for human life. Once Zog makes landfall, Gaia and Agul confront her. She's one of the biggest final foes we've seen in an Ultraman TV series, and that makes her imposing as much as her angelic design is off-putting. Is she here for salvation, or merely a devil in disguise? Well, for her it was salvation, and for the Ultras it was the latter. She defeats Gaia and Agul, even destroying their Henshin devices. Their defeat leads to Zog swarming the Earth with dark forces and becoming an overwhelming force of the radical destruction bringer. The key thing here is, in keeping with the themes of Earth being an ecosystem of both humans and kaiju, the kaiju that survived from previous episodes return to help battle around the Earth against Zog's army. I think it's a beautiful thing seeing the union of kaiju and humanity, that we're all in this together.
Tigris. もうこんな時に地球から怪獣なんか出なくてもいいじゃんよ。これが破滅なのか。違う。怪獣がイナゴに向かってマグマを地球の力をぶつけている。What are they doing here? 奴らは立ち上がった。自分の生まれた星を守るために。
It's an idea revisited in Ultraman Blazar in 2023, where we also see kaiju help out, as an unknown force sends space kaiju to Earth. I feel like Blazar is meant to be a pseudo-new gen Gaia in terms of themes like the Earth coming together, with humans and kaiju. Then Ultraman Arc, the next show, ended up referencing the radical destruction bringer, since the main antagonist, Zaizu, never fully appears beyond his head as a hologram. Instead, Zaizu sends alien Sui to do the fighting and dirty work. Sui's design is similar to the twisted angel that is Zog. What I find interesting about Zog conceptually is the false angel aesthetic. In different religions, you can expect there to be imagery of a bright, heavenly figure from above coming down to gift humans or bring wisdom. Zog does that, except the violence and the foreboding of the apocalypse. The way she wipes out Gaia and a ghoul, who have recently started fighting with mutual respect and a shared bond, is straight up devastating. What kind of angel does this? Zog follows a trend in the show with dark figures being right in front of you. Some examples include Psycho Bedzard, who was notably a creepy monster using people as marionettes. Gankyu is Gankyu, its design says everything, about all-seeing eyes. Then you have kaiju like Pazuzu, Bizorm, and Satin Bizor, which either reflect some occult beings from real life, or a reference to Zetton. Zog evolves to her final form once Gaia and a ghoul return for that fated rematch. This form is more of a straight-up kaiju, still being absolutely gigantic and bringing it back that four-legged centaur kind of look. It's a gigantic battle as Zig and the Mizuno dragon help the Ultras persevere. With graceful unity, Gaia and a ghoul defeat Zog with a combined beam blast, saving Earth and its inhabitants. Just look at this handshake that summarizes the victory. A ghoul, you son of a bitch. Let's finish this analysis with two letters at the end of the alphabet, Ultraseven X and Ultraman Z. Z is the godson of Ultraman Ace, so it's fitting that his final foe has dimensional powers of Yapple's Baraba in the form of the D4 Ray. It's like if the oxygen destroyer from Godzilla could suddenly tear apart reality. That's how I describe Z's later plot about humanity becoming too power-hungry with their ambitions and technology they don't understand. Cerebro would be the final boss of Z, having built up as he possessed different hosts throughout the show, culminating in Cerebro creating the hybrid monster Destritos from humanity's self-proclaimed Ultroid Zero. It has a double meaning, being that Destritos is technically descended from Yapple and being a chimera like Jumbo King, and also spawning from a violent, mechanized doppelganger of Z's own teacher, that being Ultraman Zero. So Destratos is a result of blending the mythos of two Ultras key to Z's history and identity, in addition to a fresh theme about humanity's reckless ambitions for power above those they don't understand. I mean, Cerebro himself is a unique foe for a main antagonist. He only speaks through those he possesses, and he explained that he finds joy in propagating a sentient species to the point of their own self-destruction. As a parasite, he's the literal infestation of violence, greed, and apathy to any planet he lands on. What makes Cerebro a formidable threat is how much his presence is hidden. He's nonchalantly in the background, scheming his next move. And with that, he's able to observe and learn from past antagonists like Greza, Yapul, Gilvilis, Ultraman Belial of the Devil of Splinters, and even Jugless Juggler, who's acting as the captain of storage. By the time the final arc rolls around, Cerebro possesses Yoko, who is piloting Ultroid Zero, meaning she later becomes part of Destratos. This elevates the already high stakes, meaning Haruki and Ultraman Z can't just try to fight Destratos again, instead, it's a rescue mission. And one of additional stakes is following the previous defeat from Destratos' D4A, Z tells Haruki that if they transform again, it'll be their last battle, considering the toll it's taken on their body, much like Ultraseven's dilemma we discussed earlier in the video. Nonetheless, Haruki chants Ultraman Z's name, saves Yoko in a heartwarming payoff, and is able to overcome the overpowered Destratos with no fusion forms and instead sheer willpower. Bonus points for the subtle ultramantiga homage as well, when the cast gives Z their light by chanting his name. All in all, there's a reason Z resonates with myself and fans 5 years ago. Z aired during the pandemic, and that meant this intense battle of Cerebro and Destratos felt relatable with the insanity of the world. Seeing Ultraman Z persevere against all odds is a moment I'll never forget. Ultraman Z taught us how to see through all the confusion. Now let's finish with 2007's Ultraseven X, a retrospective 40th anniversary series for All Ice Slugger himself. It's a more low-key storyline and world, one ruled in dystopia by secret aliens. It's a rather nightmarish world since despite war being eradicated, people don't seem to be all there. They don't seem to be happy, and if they are, it's usually artificially. It's a brilliant show that keeps to itself, as in it uses a smaller show, a lower budget, and a more concise, darker atmosphere to unravel its plot. Basically, Ultraseven's host Jin and his girlfriend Aaliyah discover that aliens known as Greatkiss have been manipulating humanity into thinking they've found peace through media like the internet and continuous news broadcast, along with the government and Deuce. Deuce is like the strike team for the show. The Greatkiss aliens plan to invade the shower Earth, so they want to cross to another dimension, which is how Ultraseven gets involved through Jin. The Greatkiss may not be the most threatening final bosses, nor the most fascinating visually, although my interpretation is that was the point. They're a collective of invading pests that successfully took over the Earth. They're bug-like and already live deep in the Earth, controlling humanity from within. The group of 3D Greatkiss fighting Ultraseven was more than likely standing in for the main leaders of these aliens that speak to Ultraseven and reveal their heinous plans. They're mysterious, manipulative, big in numbers, and intelligent. In some ways, they're indicative of all the previous bosses we've analyzed today. After defeating Ultraseven once, Jin gets back up after Leah's pleas awaken Dan Moriboshi, meaning it was time for Ultraseven to kick ass and leave no trace behind. You better believe he does that, for Ultraseven defeats the main Greatkiss alien trio, then burrows deep into the Earth to eradicate the rest of them. This long shot of Ultraseven letting his wide beam loose all around him is how I feel dumping Gatorade down a fire anthill. Big booms follow as Ultraseven saves his fellow agents K and S and reminds everyone why he's a goddamn badass. The battle between Ultraseven and the Greatkiss may not have been the most extravagant fight, but yeah, I think that was the point. These aliens were already in control. They won long ago by conquering Earth without much of a struggle. This taps into the fear of everything around you, being watched by something out there. If our governments use the internet and news outlets to tell you everything's okay, to keep us routine to peace, to make sure we don't question our handed comforts, then I can definitely see why the people in this universe started to crack. It's that blend of sci-fi, fantasy, and realism that strikes a heavy chord. And in our current digitized world where the internet itself dictates what gets around and who sees what, yeah, I can see why the Greatest aliens were a threatening foe. They took over a world that never had Ultraseven, so him fighting uphill battle with his ancient allies fits perfectly into what made Ultraseven resonate decades earlier with viewers. All in all, this was the art of Ultraman final bosses. From various themes to making us feel despair, these foes are a prime reason an Ultraman show sticks in our imaginations. The fears they reveal us about the real world only strengthen our resolve to find a better tomorrow. Through the goals for a better tomorrow, we get ourselves back up, much like the Ultraman Incarnations Reboot 4. If these giants of light can see the best of humanity, no matter how disappointing our species can be at times, then we can learn to see the best in ourselves, unlock that willpower, and know that fear is part of the journey. Thank you all for watching, it means a lot. Thank you for your time, and let me know in the comments what your thoughts of these final bosses are. I want to hear them. If there's any you think I should have covered, then let me know. I want to hear your analysis and ideas. Until next time, check out my past several years of Ultraman video essays, and I'll see you in the next one. Happy 60th anniversary, Ultraman. Switch!
Thank you.